Hi, my name is Kimmana and welcome to Holistic Nomads TV, where ancient wisdom and modern science can help you to have more clarity and energy in your life. And today we're looking at question and answer from the public. People submit their questions and I give them a good direction on what might work for them. Remembering it's all educational, you should check with a practitioner, what could be some good options to get started and think about to include into your program. And today's question comes from Kashia from Russia. I hope I'm saying that right, or I've given a few options there. And she says, "Hello, I love your YouTube videos. Can you please recommend which herbs or supplements are useful in treating Pitta-related pancreatitis, especially in older people, and what are good ways to detox the pancreas?" So this is a great one. A really important thing to understand is first, what is the function of the pancreas? So it's an organ that's inside the body and it stimulates secretion of different enzymes. So it has two main branches in that. It has one that stimulates enzymes for digestion. They get pumped through a little tube, they go down, they meet the same tube that comes from the gallbladder, and then they feed into the small intestine. And that helps us digest so many different foods. A huge array of enzymes come from the pancreas. And then its second main function is to stimulate enzymes and hormones that go straight into the blood. And these have a huge effect on sugar metabolism and our ability to use sugar and get it into the muscles throughout the body. A very common one here that we know of is insulin. So these two different functions of the pancreas, when we come to pancreatitis, pancreatitis means pancreas and itis, inflammation. So when we have this inflammatory response that's happening inside the pancreas, it's usually because of the enzymes that were going to be used for the small intestine. For some reason, those enzymes have not made it towards the small intestine and they've started to get activated inside the pancreas themselves. Instead of digesting food, they start to digest and inflame the cells and the walls of the pancreas. So we'll look at some of the main causes and why that happens. So in the context of Ayurvedic treatment, working with the cause is always the highest priority. We can apply so many great treatments. I know you said straight away herbs and supplements, yet if we haven't really started to look at cause, many of those might not have a powerful effect. So I'm going to look at cause here and see how it could relate to any of the three doshas. I know you've said Pitta specifically, yet I'm not sure if it's definitely Pitta. So I'm going to mention this for the other people out there. And usually we find that multiple doshas are involved within a disease. Multiple doshas meaning defect possibilities. So the first one that we look at is Vata. Vata is one of the most important imbalances that affects so many other functions inside the body. And we could have a Pitta-related pancreatitis where Vata along the side is also contributing to that. In its simplest context here, I'm just going to look at stress. When we really stress the nervous system, all of the imbalances inside the body don't function as well. And Vata tends to stress the nervous system. This could be through late nights, too much work that we're integrating, running out of resources inside the body, lethargy and tiredness, an overload in the body and the mind will start to influence Vata in this way. And there's a few ways that we can test for that. One is called a HPA adrenal axis test. We'll link up the email below, so you can email us if you're interested in doing that test. It needs to be prescribed for you. We can send that out anywhere in the world from a really high quality laboratory. And what this test tells us is what's happening with the messages from your brain and how are they influencing the adrenal glands, the thyroid, and the hormonal messages that influence balance across the body and the nervous system. This really affects digestive system. If your nervous system is not balanced, then the message to send the enzymes out and into the small intestine might not work as well. So first we look at Vata, the messenger that's sending those things into the system. If you don't want to do the test, that's fine. Then just start looking. Do I have any of the Vata aggravating symptoms? Go back into our videos about Vata and start to learn and see, oh, how could I balance Vata? And most specifically, I'd be looking at the lifestyle therapies for Vata. When it comes to pancreatitis, it's probably not a Vata diet that started to imbalance it, a Vata aggravating diet. It's probably Vata aggravating lifestyle experiences. So look at the videos on balancing Vata through lifestyle. Next, we'll look at the dosha of Pitta. Now, Pitta will cause more pancreatitis than many other doshas. And this is because Pitta is associated with heat. It's also associated with enzymes and the digestive function. And a lot of pancreatitis gives like a hot, sort of burning, sharp sensation where the pancreas is. So these Pitta type symptoms, burning, hot, sharp sensation, would all be associated with more of a Pitta type pancreatitis. It's also more common that pancreatitis happens in men. And men generally have a little bit more Pitta than women do. So these chronic, long-term pancreatitis, chronic meaning happening repetitively over your life, which is probably the case here if it's an elderly person. We're probably not talking about an acute one-off attack. We're talking about a regular occurrence of this pancreatitis pain. And if it's happening within Pitta like this, we really need to look at diet. What sort of Pitta influences have created this possibility in the diet? And the number one influence to create pancreatitis, it's related in 80 to 90% of cases of pancreatitis, is alcoholism. So really check, cut down on alcohol. It can't be part of the diet at all if we're looking at pancreatitis as a problem. We were just looking at some videos on kombucha and other things like that. A lot of these fermented type drinks like kombucha will still have a little bit of alcohol. They'll create heat in the blood. They could aggravate things like pancreatitis. Again, watch that video. I'm not saying kombucha is bad. It's great. It has many purposes. But for a Pitta type pancreatitis, it's not going to be the ideal medicine. The next food that we'd be looking at is fried foods. Decrease these heavy, fatty, fried foods because not only do they aggravate Pitta, but they also tend to aggravate the liver and the gallbladder. And the gallbladder duct moves down to the same duct that comes from the pancreas. So they're one tube. And if we decrease good flow of bile and fats through there, through blocking it with fried foods, then we're more likely to block that tube and we're not able to stimulate a good flow from the pancreas. Plus, it'll aggravate Pitta in the system and just won't be so great in many regards. Another thing to remove for a cause is smoking. Smokers have a much higher risk of pancreatitis than other people. Also, super spicy foods. If we get into a lot of really chili, spicy, intense flavors, these will tend to increase Pitta as well. As we look at the ratio of fats as well, the ratio of fats inside the blood can imbalance for both Pitta and Kapha. And here, if we look at the ratio of what we call omega-6 fats compared to omega-3, we have a much higher chance of all inflammatory processes if this ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 gets out a lot. And there's ways that we can test that. So if you're interested to have an omega-3, omega-6 test, you can email us and we'll have it prescribed and sent out to you. It can be sent to anywhere in the world. Now, that omega-3 test will help to know, oh, okay, what's the ratio of where I am and how much do I need to bring those omega-3s back up to reduce systemic inflammation that's happening anywhere in the body. It'll also tell you about your other triglycerides, your other fat systems that are happening inside the blood, and higher amounts of triglycerides have a much higher occurrence to pancreatitis. So when it comes to treating Pitta with diet, we already have a video on that. It's called a Pitta balancing diet. We'll link it up in the show notes below, and you can have a look at what might be the best foods to increase and decrease to really look at treating Pitta dominant pancreatitis. So if that's the case, look at foods as the first step. Then we're going to look at Kapha as a possible cause as well. So when it comes to Kapha, we're really looking at the fats, heavy, hard to digest foods, and the symptoms that we're going to get from more of a Kapha type pancreatitis is heaviness inside the body, a thick tongue coating. Sometimes we refer to this as ama, half digested byproducts. This will create blockage and congestion, usually in that tube of the liver gallbladder and how that influences the pancreatic duct. If we get gallstones or other things that develop there, then that's going to block the flow of enzymes. They're going to get stuck in the pancreas and pancreatitis is going to develop. So if the condition is because of blockage, then check out your tongue coating. Have a look if there's other Kefir symptoms that are also relevant, and maybe we need to look at reducing some Kefir as well. It's possible that all three of these doshas could be elevated at the same time. It's not always that one goes up, the other one goes down. The body could be accumulating an excess of all three. So here in the diet section, we'd be looking at dairy, bread, and sugar as the most likely contributors. So have a look. If there is some Kefir symptoms that are presenting on the tongue in other parts of life, then cut out dairy, bread, and sugar for a period of time. Go into a high vegetable-based diet that's helping to balance both Kefir and Pitta in the diet section, and then helping to balance Vata in the mind and the lifestyle section. So here we've looked at all three doshas and how they could be contributing to pancreatitis, and which one is happening for you, Kashaya, is going to be individual. Hopefully you're already on track with the Pitta type pancreatitis, because I'm going to mention a way in which to treat the pancreatitis with herbs and supplements now, and it's a little bit more focused to Pitta in that regard. Now, as I mentioned that, it's a little bit more focused to Pitta, so we really need to be aware that individualization is key. If you had a consultation with someone, they might be able to go right into the specific food that you need to increase, prescribe the specific thing based on testing and your individuality. So although I'm going to talk about some generalizations here, and they may be suitable for you, it's really ideal to work with a professional and get specific on what's suited to you. So the first treatment that's very common, whether it's conventional medicine in a hospital or naturopathic medicine, if we're getting pancreatitis, then some form of fasting program is usually introduced. To take less food in gives the body some time to deal with the inflammation and get it out of the system. If we have a lot of Pitta or Vata to the person's body type, we still want to include something. So it might be a soupy broth and you're just getting enough minerals inside the body through that. Or it could be something that is very low fats, maybe a sweet potato that's steamed and just a small amount of that, so you're still getting a little bit of the carbohydrates or other things. They generally reduce the fatty type foods as the most important, and some form of fasting program from 24 to 48 hours depending on the severity of your pancreatitis. Then I would start to follow that up with some form of flushing program that helps to flush that liver gallbladder pathway, because a lot of the times this blockage that's there and moving excess Pitta out of the system, if it's because of Pitta, then Pitta needs to move out through the liver and the gallbladder. Pitta builds up and becomes excessive in the blood the most. So the chances are there's excess Pitta in the blood for what's going on with this person with pancreatitis, and we need to move that Pitta into the liver, into the gallbladder, and squirt it down and out. And in order to make the gallbladder squirt, we need to take fats and oils. This is a really sensitive thing here. We take fats and oils, it could aggravate the system and increase the pancreatitis. We take the right fats and oils in the right dose, and it should flush the system and enable the body to really clear it. So I think the safest oil for home use here would be olive oil. It's a light oil, it's easy to digest, get a good quality olive oil. If you can get one that has a little bit more bitter components to it, that's going to be even more suited to this. And there's a gentle home way to do this, where you get one small green apple, one lemon, and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. You cut the apple up with everything, seeds, the whole lot, and blend that with the juice of the lemon and a tiny little bit of the white from the outside of the lemon. Not the zest, cut all the zest off, just a little bit of that white and the 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Blend that up and it'll make like a thick applesauce. You'll have that applesauce as your first thing in the morning, maybe drink some water first and then have the applesauce. Have that as your breakfast, and then fast on some teas that could be Pitta balancing. Things that are going to help with the blood, things that are going to cool down the system and work with inflammation, maybe a little bit of turmeric, maybe some Cereva, maybe some chamomile. Fast on those teas until you feel hunger from the belly. So here we're looking at something that could be done regularly for like 7 days in a row, a very gentle and fairly safe way to do that at home without needing so much supervision. If we really needed to do that in a bigger way, we do it with Panchakarma. It's an Ayurvedic detox system where we go much deeper into how to flush the liver and the gallbladder in more intensive ways, but they really need to be supervised by a professional. I offer those programs twice a year. You can check out if those dates suit for you on holisticnomads.com, and also on Kimmana.com. There's an article that will link up in the notes below on how to find an ideal Panchakarma center in the world, and I've got a few links of some recommended ones there. For now, if it suits and your other practitioner agrees, you could try the home program with a little bit of olive oil, and that could really get you the results you need, and you may not need to go deeper. Another tip I'd look at for pancreatitis, because it's often dietary related, is go back to our videos on the 7 tips for eating and the 7 tips for drinking. They really make sure that your metabolism is effectively digesting what you're eating, because sometimes it's not just about what you eat, it's about how your body is utilizing and absorbing it. And maybe you're not having dietary practices, lifestyle practices that really support good digestive function. So check out those videos as well. Our next one comes to a specific herbal preparation. This is one of the things you asked, was herbs or supplements. I know I've taken a long time to get to that because I think a lot of the other things are more important. They set up the foundation for healing. These herbal and supplements, they're really like the last things to push the body back to balance if needed. But we need to set up the right foundation first before we apply these medicines to really get the best results. So the medicine I would recommend specifically for Pitta pancreatitis is a type of Gugulu preparation. Gugulu is the Sanskrit word, Commiphora mucul is the botanical name, and it's a sap that comes out of a tree, of a bush. And this sap is really effective for going through the body and scraping out accumulations. It's going to go through and scrape out if there's any accumulations in that pancreatic duct, in that bile duct of the body, and any micro channels of the body. If it was just used by itself, it would usually be heating and tend to aggravate pitta sometimes. Yet, if it's mixed into a good preparation, and the one I'd be looking at here is called Kaishore Gugulu. It's an Ayurvedic formulation that's designed specifically to deal with pitta-type inflammatory processes. It would often be used for pitta-type arthritis, yet it also works and scrapes throughout the digestive system and helps to remove excess pitta from the body. Now, there's a lot of dietary specifics that need to be used when using a Gugulu preparation. So I don't recommend you to just go out and buy that one. You either need to know you've worked with an Ayurvedic practitioner, it's probably the perfect medicine, yet you need to adjust your diet, and the main things is avoid meat, avoid wines, avoid coffee, any heating things. If you're getting any symptoms that occur while taking that medicine, you need to be consulting your practitioner again straight away. They may need to adjust the dose and get it specific for you. Now, we could also look at omega-3 fatty acids. As we've said, the ratio of triglycerides, of fats in the blood, is a contributor. So having good omega-3 fatty acids is going to help to reduce inflammation, reduce tendencies to pancreatitis. Although you can take these with certain plant-based materials, flaxseed oil, chia seed, and other sources, the conversion into the usable things inside your body is only 7 to 14% into what we call EPA and DHA. These are the usable forms of omega-3 in the body. So although I really recommend plant-based for a lot of people, I try to reduce meat as much as possible. In this case, to really reduce the inflammation, taking a fish oil, a really high quality filtered fish oil, we'll link one up in the show notes below, that could be a high quality fish oil to use, will really help to bring that ratio back to balance. And as I said before, if you want to test and you want to know, then let us know. We can have a test sent out to you that'll test the blood ratios of fats and see, do you really need omega-3 oils? And if so, how much might you need over how long? Because we don't need to take them all year long. We can top up our ratio of omega-3 and that balance in the blood through possibly a 1 to 3 month period at certain doses depending on the person, and that should last them for the rest of the year. Once you really understand that cycle for yourself, you may only need to do that for a short period each year to top up your supplies of omega-3, reduce your tendencies to inflammations across the system. And The last thing I'd look at is if your body is having a chronic pancreatitis, there's a good chance that you won't be producing good enzymes anymore. This can start to influence our overall health, our overall ability to digest and absorb foods, and maybe using an enzyme supplementation is going to be beneficial for you. So have a look at the option of a digestive enzyme if it's been chronic and it keeps going. Now, normally I would try to fix all the other things first, and I would look at our body creating the enzymes in the best possible way. In some cases though, this might be needed, and better off to get the absorption from the food and use that enzyme when needed than to miss out on the nutrients that you may really need. Well, I hope this video has been helpful to you, Kashia, and I also hope that it's been helpful to others out there that may be struggling with pancreatitis and really looking for some good quality natural solutions. If it has been helpful to you, there's a good chance that it might be helpful to someone else. So maybe share this video with those in need. Also, if you'd like to ask us a question about anything health and healing related, personal to you, then you can submit your questions on holisticnomads.com/ask, and we're more than happy to answer your questions. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you're notified when your question is answered. It's been great to share this with you. I look forward to sharing more in the future. All the best. Bye. Quality health and healing information is people's birthright, so we should do our thing and share it with the world. That was a bit weird, wasn't it?